This month from Big Finish, August 2024, we have a very surprise release that was meant to be out in July, which is Deathworld. It was meant to be out in July alongside Operation Werewolf, but it got pushed back. And then, of course, we had the whole new Big Finish website, and I think there are still a few teething issues there alongside that and the app. So we do have Deathworld still to come, which is still the release I am very hyped for. The What If 10th anniversary special, what could have been. We'll just have to wait and see when that drops. But yeah, very excited for Deathworld.
We do, however, have a release date for The Death and Life of River Song Series 1 Last Words. This will be coming out on the 6th of this month, and it sees River Song return from the dead, reborn after her digital afterlife that we saw her begin at the end of Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead. We've had one story during the Diary of River Song set during that afterlife, but now we're moving beyond that. We're pushing River in an exciting new direction as she moves to see what life is like beyond the Doctor. That is what Rob Valentine had to say. Originally, I thought I was going to be writing the final ever River story. Quickly, I realised that I wasn't. But I thought it would be fun to write something that feels like it's the last we'll ever see of River and actually give that problem to her. Her life is usually intertwined with the Doctor, so I thought, what is her life after her great relationship is over? Meanwhile, producer David Richardson said Rob Valentine has done something remarkable with this 4-hour drama, which tells the story of the last days of planet Earth before it is destroyed by solar flares. A story told from the perspective of a woman temporarily brought back from the dead. It's heartbreaking and exciting and doom-laden and, perhaps when you least expect it, uplifting and inspiring. When every single day during the recording, your leading actress is saying, this script is brilliant, you know you're onto a good thing. Even better, at the end of the last day, Alex popped the script in her bag and announced that she loved Last Words so much she was taking it home to keep and treasure. It being a 4-hour long story as well. The last time River had one of these, it was Friend of the Family, Series 11 of Diary of River Song, written by Tim Foley. And that was met with a lot of praise. Me and Ben have said it is perhaps the best Big Finish release of last year. There are high hopes going into this one, which is also, I might add, a prequel to the Ark in Space. So a lot going on with this exciting River Song release.
On the 8th of August, we see the return of Tosh in the Tortured monthly range in Endgame. Now, Tosh last appeared on Big Finish in SUV in October 2022, so it's been a long time coming. So Tosh fans can rejoice as we have this sort of secure control room, what is sort of simulates emergencies where you're able to issue orders in real-time decisions and disaster scenarios and sort of prevent sort of what if scenarios at the end of the world, and Tosh is right in the center of that. So shall we begin the simulation?
From April to June of this year, we saw the return of Morbius in the first trilogy of Dark Galifrey. Now we see him rise once again for a new series of War Doctor adventures starring Jonathan Carley once again as the young War Doctor. It's The War Doctor Rises, Morbius the Mighty, coming out on the 13th. This is a 3-hour long epic written by Tim Foley, who says, with Dark Gallifrey, I really got to sink my teeth into Morbius. The way he approached everything, that ego of his that was bubbling out over the script. There was just so much of him that I wanted to write another script and to put more of him in. So I asked, please let me write for Morbius again. Because Dark Gallifrey Morbius was inspired by Frankenstein, it felt like a natural fit to put Morbius in another epic story. A large part of Morbius the Mighty is inspired by the Wrath of Khan, which itself has its genesis in Moby Dick. Both are fabulous revenge stories, and basically boiled down to a one-on-one. I thought, what Morbius was angry at the War Doctor about? What was driving him? And that's where the drama stems from.
On the 15th of August, we continue Dark Gallifrey with War Master Part 2. And the War Master actually is in this part. As James Goss says, only Big Finish would be able to get the man from Buffy and a national treasure and have them act together. They're both great actors from both very different worlds. I love the idea that the War Master is an effective master over all the other masters with ridiculous overarching plans which never come to fruition, but the War Master is meticulous. When he makes a shopping list, he goes down kale. It must be kale. Whereas Captain John is the antithesis of the Master. He never has a plan for life and has a very different approach to get to their goals. And they're forced to work together, but it doesn't quite work. We go back to the Braxtel University where Benny is dividing her time between her lectures and her cats and managing romantic advances from one of her students, John. The new provost is such a nice old man. Who could that nice old man be, I wonder? Doesn't approve of their dalliance and advises them not to get involved, for John wants to know about Dark Galifrey, which is something Benny has done but is best forgotten and thinks that she can find it again. The funny thing is, the dear provost wants to find it first.
Young War Doctor's renaissance continues this month as he bumps into his granddaughter, Susan, in Susan's War, Family Ties, which also features another member of the Doctor's family, Alex Campbell, played by Sonny McGann, who appears in the first story, The Lost Son, by Sarah Cassidy. Meanwhile, the second story, The Golden Child, sees Susan run into her grandfather, but he's not quite the man she remembers. This is a different angle on the Time War, says script editor Matt Fitton. It's much more to do with diplomacy and espionage. Susan's not a soldier. She uses her brain and her empathy for forging alliances with other species for the Time Lords. And I like to keep an aspect of the 1960s present, so we touch on characters, situations, and alien races that hark back to the time when Susan was travelling with the Doctor.
The Sixth Doctor's 40th anniversary celebrations continue courtesy of Ludlosphere, incorporated with the greatest adventure ever streamed into your ears, which is Trials of a Time Lord. Responding to a distress call from an old friend, the Doctor and Mel find themselves in Siberia, a prison camp run by an even older foe. But this time, the cyber leaders' machinations are just the tip of a very sinister iceberg, one that will test the Doctor to his very limit and beyond. So this is a six-parter with 3 different writers with various foes from the Sixth Doctor's era. We have the Androgams making their Big Finish appearance, voiced by Big Finish legend John Coleshaw, and of course we have Terry Malloy's Davros against the Sixth Doctor, and Davros and the Sixth Doctor's Big Finish catalogue is brilliant, and that's where the Sixth Doctor really does shine with Davros in previous stories like Davros and the Juggernauts and Curse of Davros. So it feels very fitting to have Terry Malloy part of the celebrations, and obviously Terry Malloy played a big part in Colin's first season as the Doctor with Attack for Cybermen and of course Revelation of the Daleks. So it's nice to see him get in on the 40th celebrations for the Sixth Doctor.
Yeah, we had Quinn Dilemma back in March, didn't we? Which at the time we thought was going to be our only Sixth Doctor 40th anniversary box set. There wasn't really any indications that we'd be getting a second one, and one that disconnected as such, but they're just 2 separate things, aren't they? It's not like 40 where you had one half of the story, then the other half. This is just 2 separate box sets that happen to both celebrate 40 years of the Sixth Doctor, and why not? I mean, if we can have so many different things celebrating 60 years of Doctor Who, why not also have multiple things to celebrate all these years we've had with the Sixth Doctor? And this one feels more TV focused.
Yeah, I think Quinn Dilemma was more about the iterations of the Sixth Doctor. This feels like your traditional story. It looks very 80s with like the time scoops on the cover. So that's really cool. David Banks back as the cyber leader.
Yeah, bringing back a lot from his TV era, specifically season 22, even though the title is obviously a reference to Trial of a Time Lord.
But there is no trial.
Season 23. No. Trial. No trial scenes, at least. Nothing like that, but something a little bit different. Maybe it's trials in the sense that, the trials and tribulations kind of trials.
Yes.
He's presumably going to be going through a lot in this story, dear old Sixie. Yeah, this is also the beginning of a new producer for the Sixth Doctor Adventures. and
Yeah,
someone
Jonathan
new
S.
to Big
Powell.
Finish. Yeah, new to Big Finish in general. So it'll be exciting to see which new directions the Sixth Doctor gets taken down.
Hmm.
But I mean, which release excites you most from this month, though?
Death World.
Which release that was meant to come out this month excites you most from this month?
I mean,
Spoke about Death World last month.
This is a thing. This is all subject to change. These releases might be pushed back, whatever.
With the new website at the moment, it's sort of in a bit of a rocky space, isn't it? Like, we have dates for some of these, but yeah, we can't be as sure as we have been before.
I would say out of the bunch we've got, I'd say War Doctor, Morbius the Mighty, because I really enjoyed Dark Galifrey Morbius, and I really liked that sandbox we played in. And just the long form storytelling with the War Doctor, what we've had, I've really enjoyed. He Who Fights Monsters is the best in that range in particular. And I think Tim Foley at the helm, and like you mentioned in the River Song section, friend of a family, just immersing yourself in that one long story, it just sings to me.
I think I'm also on a bit of a Jonathan Carly high right now.
I cannot
get enough of his take on the Doctor.
It is his year, isn't it? Of releases. There's so many.
Yeah. It's wonderful getting the photoreal young War Doctor now on covers too, where for a while we thought that wasn't legally possible, but they found a way, and they're making some gorgeous covers with it. I mean, Sean Longmore doing both the Sontarans versus Rutans in name only cover, where we first got, well, actually no, that wasn't our first glimpse. It was the Sontarans versus Rutans art that we got.
Little poster.
Yeah, which was not Sean Longmore, that was Simon Hullab. And yeah, I mean, it's wonderful seeing that now, seeing that alongside the other Doctors as well. I think I've mentioned before that the young War Doctor's face is almost my go-to thought when I think of the War Doctor now, really. And Jonathan Carly's voice alongside that is a wonderful interpretation of the character. And I can't wait for more of it now, especially as we now get into the thick of the Time War and perhaps going in a darker direction than before. I'm excited by what's to come there. And again, we've even got more of that with Susan's War as well, which is an interesting release because it's just 2 discs.
It's not a box set.
1-hour stories. Yeah. But it's sort of pushing the heat limits a bit, I suppose. Not my most hyped release, but...
I mean, Susan's War's a funny one because it was the first released in lockdown in April, and I think that's why it became one of the high sellers. I think the first story's great. The rest of the box that I can kind of take or leave it. I am a little bit iffy on this one.
Something I'm definitely not iffy on, though, is River. I am really looking forward to some more long-form storytelling again with her. We had Robert Valentine do an epic 3-hour story for the War Doctor with He Who Fights with Monsters. So I think we know he can handle that scope of story. And we know it also suits River very well, as we've seen with Friend of the Family. So there's a lot of elements coming together that make me very excited for that release too. Yeah, I mean, circling back to Sixth Doctor, what are your thoughts there?
Optimistic,
cautiously so, or
yeah, I would say cautiously because I've not really enjoyed the Sixth Doctor stuff since a relaunch. Well, I'd say since 2020. So I've sort of, I don't want to say Colin burnt out, but I'm very wary when it comes to Colin release. And I think having the new producer there, bit of new blood, new direction, hopefully there's something there. But it would just be good to hear David Banks.
Yeah, and Terry Malloy as well as Davros. I mean, yeah, is this the first time we've had him since Dalek Universe?
No, we had Once and Future.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Which was a nice little treat.
but it does feel like Colin's his doctor.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, he's coming home.
Yeah, it is a homecoming, really.
I mean, that'll probably be towards the end of the month, I think.
Yeah, it will be, I think.
We've got release dates sorted out for the early half. By looks things for the podcast, Susan's War will be the week following War Doctrine Dark Galifrey. So it makes sense if Sixth Doctor feels that gap at the end of the month. That is August 2024. Let us know which release you are most excited for down in the comments below. And we'll see you in September. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.